Good morning, everybody. I am joined today by Dinga, game director over at Arkane Studios, working on Deathloop. Today, we've got some fan Q&A questions we've gathered from YouTube, from Twitter, and we're going to ask Dinga all about it. So Dinga, at Dr. Conspiracy asks, will there be a semi-level system like the runes in Dishonored, or will there be a unique progression system, if any?
So the way the progression works is it's more of a horizontal progression than a vertical progression. It's not a tech tree. So the idea is that you can find trinkets in the world by killing enemies or finding them by exploring. And those trinkets can improve your character. So you can choose which trinkets you want to equip. You can slot those trinkets in some weapons to improve them. And as for the powers, you improve them by finding we call them power upgrades. So it's kind of the same as the concept of the trinket, which is you can slot them in the powers, and they act as modifiers, and you can have two of them on a power at the same time, so you can mix and match some of the upgrades. So it's more a horizontal progression than a tech tree one.
Sure. Awesome. Nick Sivak asks, what is it like pulling ideas from previous unreleased projects for a big game like this? I remember seeing some gameplay elements that it looks like Arkane was toying with in The Crossing and the no-clip video documentary. I find that stuff fascinating and very excited to play.
So yes, I think it's been nice. It's something that it didn't really come as starting from The Crossing and adding this idea. It was, we wanted Juliana to be special, to be unpredictable. And then someone suggested, the crazy person that it's a level designer, I won't say who. Well, maybe she's playable by another player, and and that's at this point we are like, oh, kind of like The Crossing, and then it started to flow. So we actually looked back at what we did then and how different we wanted it to be this time, and a lot of things. So. I think, there is a lot of talk in game development about killing your babies. Like, just this feature will not go into this project because it's too late or too expensive or technology is not there yet, etc., etc. But actually, you might make a case for putting your babies in the fridge, in the freezer, so you can take them out.
Preserving them.
This is sinister, but the original image is sinister as well, so I have the right.
That's awesome. Was it hard to recall, things from previous projects that, you wanted to bring back, or do you always kind of have like a running list of like, oh man, I've always wanted to, use this mechanic or this system. Let's try it out here. Is it kind of a running list for you, or do you kind of go back and look through notes and stuff?
No, I think it's we really try to be true to the game we are making right now, instead of trying to retrofit ideas that didn't get in. But when there is an interrogation mark on something and we already found the beginning of an answer before it comes back immediately, so that's so it's nice to have all these ideas, but they are more or less in I don't think there used to be a Christmas wish list that was super long, but we don't it's not maintained anymore.
Fair enough. So the next question comes from Alex Smith. Alex Smith asks, would they ever consider adding new routines or scenarios for the targets in future updates? I think they mentioned that currently there's just one correct solution to the murder puzzle. It would be neat if new solutions were able to be added post-launch.
At this time, I think we're very, very, very focused on actually finishing, Deathloop.
Fair enough.
And making it awesome. But who knows what we do, afterward. It will depend a lot on what, you players are doing with the game. So we'll see.
Awesome. Jeff Bennett asks, will there be a new Game Plus mode?
So no, and the reason is that we wanted the replayability to be built into the structure of the game. So to an extent, you can, you will be replaying those areas a lot. You can unlock everything. You cannot take everything with you at the same time. but it felt like making the campaign again with by keeping your stuff is, well, that's exactly what I was doing just before I finished the game. So but there might be some like, back to the former question, maybe it's something we can experiment with, but it will have to be a bit more wild and even a bit less diegetic than a New Game Plus, because of the nature of the game. So no New Game Plus.
Myth Mage 13 asks, can Juliana actively taunt the enemy player? Like, is there an equipable radio you can pull out and use to send taunts to Colt or something?
We thought about active taunting, but in the end we just wanted the interactions to be through actual gameplay more than communication tools. So yeah, it's a choice that we've made, but because I think there is already a lot of things you can say by moving around, using the environment, using your powers, your player verbs, and again we are more focused on that than taunt animations or quips. Even though quips could have been nice.
I imagine, it's like you kind of early on when you're getting invaded by a player-controlled Juliana, you can kind of tell by their body language and their movements like what their intentions are. I imagine that you learn to kind of navigate that. James asks, Dark Messiah and Dishonored 1 and 2 have great environmental set pieces that make the game's enemies very fun and varied to approach in different ways. What does Deathloop do to continue that trend?
So we have certain specific setups for some of the visionaries, but overall, at high level, we wanted the entire game to be a weird Arkane set piece, like the whole idea of this time loop, and so that's why a lot of the craziness is at the macro level. But for instance, we have actually the mission that we've showed you last time with Frank, where his building is protected by this he has a security system where in order to open the door you need to have this wristband, the class pass it's called, and the class pass will cancel your supernatural abilities. You can find a way into the building without the class pass, but then you will have to hack each and every door in the building to progress, and etc. etc. So things like that are still present. There is a few, I would say, slightly wild things that you might do both for solving the main puzzle of the game and for some side content as well. But yeah, to an extent, the campaign itself is the crazy set piece this time.
Mark Shatraw asks, what holds over from run to run? Does the game make note of the schedules of your targets as you encounter them, or are we expected to do so ourselves?
So the main thing is that as you explore the game, as you read, for instance, documents or chat logs on the visionaries' computers, etc., the game will indeed keep the most precious currency almost of the game, which is knowledge. We call them discoveries. So you can have a discovery that is, for instance, in this area there is a guy who enters a cannon and propels himself. I wonder if I can do something about it. So it can be just to remind you what are the special little things that happen in each and every period. Or in some cases, there is some key knowledges like the code to open a door or a safe or things like that. So all those discoveries are important. There is, I would say, general discoveries. It's all the things that you've learned about one period. And there is the more specific campaign, main story related that we call the leads, and usually require some action from you to progress. And that's the main quest, I would say. Quests. The discovery stays with you, and if you found how, there is a way to keep your your weapons and your powers and your upgrades with you also through the loops.
Mega Dan asks, why did you choose the 1960s?
It's so we liked. I think we wanted to do something modern, in order to have. Well, that's a question that Seb would be better geared than me to answer. I will do my best. We wanted something modern enough so that we can have, some familiarity with the concepts, like what is a, old fi computer, what is an SMG, a leather jacket, etc., etc. So we wanted something that was quite accessible in terms of the concept, but still, make us travel a little bit. So we have the location with this icy, northern island, but also the time period. It's a period that I know that our art director, Sébastien, loves a lot. Just the style of, the fashion, the style of the vehicles, where, popular art was at that period. There is a lot of things that are very culturally relevant. He also told us that he sees a little bit of revival of the 1960s in some fashion collections this year. So, I think there is a lot there. There is not a ton of games that are in that period either. So, yeah, it was just a way to go a little bit more in a contemporary setting than something like Dishonored. We didn't want to go futuristic this time. So yeah, I think actually we had a little bit of back and forth of where to put it, but we found that it's actually a mix of early and late 1960s. If you're very, if you want to be keen about it, it's our own version of that. And of course, there is some sci-fi, quite futuristic elements to it, and a lot of anachronic things, including in the musical instruments that are used, and etc., etc. So it's been a lot of fun to, build this kind of alternate reality.
Awesome. At Nico Bueno asks, can I invade my friends? That's what will make or break the game for me.
So if the question is, will it make it? I think it would, because yes, you can invade your friends. You can definitely target one friend to invade. There is the settings, how it works is that you can invade either anyone or invade a friend. And when you're playing as Colt, you can say, I want to be invaded by anyone or only by my friends, or I don't want to be invaded at all. So yes, we did facilitate playing with friends. The funny thing, though, is that if you invade your friend, they will not know it's you until after the mission.
Kiwi asks, what can we expect in terms of in-game lore? Will there be journal entries to read in the environment?
Yes, there is a lot of things to read. There is a lot of attention to environmental storytelling, and interestingly, environmental storytelling that evolves depending on which of the 4 periods you enter an area in. So, for instance, you can have, there is some vignettes that you can basically kind of follow through the day if you come back to the same area and see what happened, and sometimes even influence it. For instance, one example I like to give is one of the central plazas of Updam has a concert. So when you come in the beginning of the day, there is no one. People are actually queuing to enter the library, but besides the point. So there is something else happening on this plaza, but you can see the trucks with the instruments, in them. Like you can see that they are going to prepare something here. Then if you come back at noon, they have started to set up things. There is some Eternalists that are still bolting everything together. They're talking about the concert, about who, what's the name of the band and what weird thing they have for their performance, etc., which might cue the player that maybe they can have fun and see the result with, doing something with that. So if you come in the afternoon, the concert is happening, so you can actually see the band and there is a lot of people on the plaza, so it's a dangerous place at that moment of the day. And if you come at night, the concert is over, and of course it's Black Reef Island, so it's Black Reef Isle, so it went wrong. So there is a lot of broken stuff everywhere, trash, littering, because they know it will reboot the next day. So it's nice because I'm giving this example, but there is a lot of small little vignettes like this that evolve. So yes, journal entries to read. There is the mysterious kind of floating messages also that is that are kind of a piece of the puzzle, that are sometimes interesting to revisit. The more you know, we use a lot of the storytelling tools that we love: environmental storytelling, written diaries, audio diaries, things like that. And on top of that, indeed, the floating messages. So yeah, there is a lot of secrets to uncover.
Thomas asks, what is the most out of this world weapon?
Out of this world weapon. Good question. I would say I would say the heritage rifle. It is a hunting rifle that will shoot slugs that are made of glass, actually. So if you just shoot the slug, it's one projectile. It's more or less precise at mid-range. Does a ton of damage if it hits. And you can toggle a different mode where it will actually shatter the slug inside the barrel of the gun, and then you have a kind of a spread of glass debris. So it
That's
becomes
cool.
So you can basically switch between shotgun mode and hunting rifle mode. This one is nice. The funny part is that you can actually find on YouTube people who made slugs made of glass. It's a thing. And
Really?
yeah, it's so it was nice to do the research and try to make a gun like that in the game. So yeah, I would say this one is pretty out of this world. But even though YouTube has tried to make it.
That's awesome. Lucas Santana asks, are there going to be random events in each loop? Some sort of random elements that keep each loop unpredictable in some way?
Juliana. Mainly Juliana is the random element keeping the loop unpredictable. There is some small things, but the main unpredictable event would be Juliana.
Amanda asks, are there any dogs you can pet?
There is the cat. But, sorry. Dogs. Okay. Actually, there is no animal on the entirety of Black Reef Island. It is a pretty desolate place, and there is actually a funny line about it in the game. But anyhow, no. If there was a dog to pet, you could, but there is no dog.
Tiago asks, because of the more apparent use of weapons, does the game still provide you with tools for a non-lethal playthrough?
So for us this time, we took the approach of saying this is a time loop. People come back, killing them is not as much a moral commitment as it would be in something like Dishonored. Mm-hmm. So the main non-lethal tool would be distraction, causing distraction. So that can be done by, throwing a bottle or a firecracker that you can find sometimes in the environment, hacking. You can hack things like jukeboxes or receiving radios. Like you can hack them at a distance to cause the distractions. But mainly the non-lethal tool would be avoidance, using your mobility power or the ether power that makes you invisible. You can still play non-lethally, but the main tools would be avoidance and distraction related.
And just to clarify, you do still, even if you are playing like a non-lethal playthrough, the 8 visionaries that you're tracking down, they have to be killed, correct?
Yeah, unless you want to stay in the loop forever, but yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to break the loop, you will have to kill them. So, but okay. I mean, doing one loop or even finishing the entire game and only killing those 8 people is probably possible. I assume it is.
Somebody will do it.
Somebody will certainly do it, but you have to kill them to break the loop. But as for trying to keeping the killing to a minimum or to just those folks, nothing prevents the player to do it.
Sweet. JC asks, how will save points work?
So we save the game. We save the game between each mission. Whether you succeed or lose, we save the game between each mission. And during the mission, we have a system that we call the reprise, which is each time you die, you kind of rewind, a little bit earlier, and that works a little bit like the Vita chambers in BioShock, except they are not in set places. It's a dynamic system, so sometimes it will actually rewind you in a place where there will be a little bit of tension, might be. So during when you're in a mission, it's all in real time, and the saving happens before or after.
Cool. Vadit asks, how long will it take an average player to beat the game?
So for now, the data that we have from the few playtests, because sadly we cannot do as much as we would like, thanks to the world situation right now. But thanks to the playtest that we have, we can say that the campaign is, the length of the campaign is comparable to the one in Dishonored or Prey or former games.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you have, some side content to explore. You have the player versus player component that you can invest into. But yeah, as for the campaign, it's the length of an Arkane game campaign.
Captain S asks, how does Juliana scale with Colt over the game? We know Colt finds upgrades that carry over between runs, so how does a player-controlled Juliana keep up?
So when you play as Juliana by doing, feats during gameplay, it's a kind of our way to encourage cool play in a way. By doing that, you can progressively unlock an arsenal with her. The arsenal is kind of random in the sense, so which is cool because your Juliana and my Juliana at level 4, for lack of a better term, will have different abilities. So it ensures that not every encounter is the same as you progress.
That's awesome.
So that's basically how you unlock cool stuff with Juliana, by doing cool things.
And I assume her weapon set is, from the same pool that Colt has, but just in a randomized order? Okay.
Yes. The only difference between the two is that, so to go into the difference between the two, Colt has the Hack-a-Magic, which is the device that helps him, hack a number of devices in the world, like the turrets. Like he can turn the turrets to his advantage. He can make the sensors stop looking for him, things like that. So he has that, and he has the reprise ability, the ability to die twice before he actually loops, right? Whereas Juliana on her side, she has none of those things, meaning that which is interesting, by the way, about the security systems, because she will use them a lot, like she can move turrets around, etc., etc. But once they are turned by Colt, they become hostile to her. So as Colt, progressively, you can make the map a bit less dangerous for you and a bit more for her. But anyhow, yeah, she doesn't have the Hack-a-Magic, and she doesn't have reprise. She has only one death before she loops. And on her side, she has the entirety of the map, like the entirety of the guards, like the Eternalists, they are all on her side. If an Eternalist detects Colt and she's not too far, she will have a marker. If she sees Colt, she can ping him for other Eternalists to converge on his location if there is any around. So yeah, there is this interaction with the Eternalist. So that's one thing she has, and the other is a power we call Masquerade, which allows her to exchange her appearance with any other person in the level. So she can take the appearance of an Eternalist, and that Eternalist will now look like her and be kind of a decoy.
Oh, that's awesome.
So she can also trade places with targets. She can take Colt's appearance, which might be slightly surprising. But anyhow, it's not it's a tool that you could say the illusion doesn't last for long, because you immediately recognize a player when it's a player, but it's sufficient in certain situations to get the edge on the Colt player and play some mind games on them, and have fun with that. That's basically the main differences between the two.
Dodd asks, is there a mana meter in the game? If so, is it like Dishonored 1 and 2 where you need potions to refill it, or like Death of the Outsider where it auto refills?
It is quite like the one in Death of the Outsider, actually. So you have 3 portions of power. We just call it power, actually. It will when you shift once, it will eat up one of those portions of the gauge, and then it will slowly or less slowly, depending on how you're upgraded, regenerate.
Junior asks, is there a hint system in this game?
We do give some hints sometimes through the floating messages. They are very authored, again, we try to author them to be interesting, not only just attract your attention to something or make you think like, what is this serious? Is this something I should care about? So you will wonder. But overall, it's more the things you discover. We keep track of them for you so you can find them back, but we don't actively say that. Unless you're playing on the PS5 and you're using the hint system, from the
system itself.
The dashboard, but that's a different thing.
Cyril asks, when a human-controlled Juliana kills Colt, does her day also reset? Or can she wait and set certain traps and stuff for the rest of the day that Colt will need to be wary of on the next run?
So, if she did that, since the entire island loops, those traps would be gone the next loop anyway. So, no, she's just here to loop Colt. When she loops Colt, she can go party, read a book, train, whatever she likes to do with her time when Colt is dead. But we don't, we basically get her to the next invasion.
Charlie asks, who out of Arkane's previous protagonists do you think would be the trickiest for Colt to hunt down and defeat?
I don't think Colt is prepared to deal with someone who can turn into mugs. So Morgan.
Yeah, that's a good one. Patrick asks, is there a weapon wheel? And how many weapons can you carry at once?
So you can, we have a button to, well, if you're on, I guess the question is on the controller, probably. So when you're playing with a controller, we have, you can tap the triangle button to cycle through your firearms. But if you hold, yes, you can select the one you want. And as for how much you can carry at the same time, it's 3 firearms, and the machete always occupies a slot. So it's 3 firearms, and then you can have on the left hand you can have 2 powers, and 2 powers, and the rest is the gadgets that you always have with you, like the Hackamagic and the Sapper Charge, which is a grenade that you can morph into a proximity mine or a trip mine. So you have 3 of those in each period. So yeah, three firearms. You always have your machete and 2 powers in the left hand.
Sweet. Max asks, what are the customization options in the game?
So if you're asking about the how can I say, the cosmetic customization, so that's actually one of the things that you unlock by playing as Juliana. So as you progress, you unlock arsenal, as I mentioned, her arsenal, as I mentioned, but you also sometimes unlock cosmetics, and so we have nice looking, I would say, because it's Seb and his team spent a lot of love and time in making those cool alternate looks for Colt and Juliana. So yeah, by playing as Juliana, you will unlock full body skins for both characters. We have 3 levels of quality for the weapons. So we have the crappy one that sometimes jam and that have only 1 trinket slot. We have the mid-tier one, and we have a good quality one. And the good quality one, they can be in one of 2 paint jobs, I would say. So that's not something that you decide. It's whichever you find, in the world. But there is no, weapon skin per se. So if that was the cosmetic question, and if it's the more gameplay related question, we kind of answered it with the trinkets and the upgrades.
Yeah, I think people had seen some of the gameplay that we published and saw different weapon skins and such, and were curious about that. So that answers that.
Yeah, exactly. They are all in game, unlockable by Juliana, and there is no shop or anything like that on the site.
Foof asks, will there be something similar to the Heart in Dishonored to find trinkets and slabs?
So for the slabs, it's actually quite easy. You find the visionary, you find the slabs. So that's that's how it works. And if you already have the slab, kill the visionary again, and you get an upgrade for that slab. So
cool.
That's one of the reasons that you might want to come back and kill Alexis, the formidable asshole, more than once, so you get all the cool upgrades for Carnices. But no, for the trinkets themselves, we are just we are using a kind of a whisper sound when you're near one, so you might want to search a little bit. But this time we don't have a detection mechanics for them. We want the player to explore and sometimes hear the chime and be like, and look for them.
Syntax asks, are there any NPCs friendly to Colt?
I would say the rule is no. Everyone wants him dead. There is a gigantic manhunt, and he's the target of that manhunt. Now, as with every Arkane game, maybe we break the pattern sometimes, but the rule is everyone wants to kill you. Don't assume that someone here wants wants anything else from Colt than stopping him from ruining the party for everyone.
The Hunter asks, does the game use the DualSense controller's haptic feedback and adaptive triggers? What about 3D audio?
Well, the answer is yes to the 3 questions. We use the adaptive triggers for giving more feedback to the weapons. We actually quite love the adaptive triggers, to be fair, and the trigger effect and the kind of force feedback that you get when you're shooting an automatic gun, like ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta on your finger. Like we kind of love it. So yes, we do use it. We do, we do fun things like I mentioned the bad quality weapons. When they jam, suddenly your trigger becomes super, hard, a lot of resistance, showing you like, maybe I should do something about it. And when you're out of ammo, the trigger effect is gone, so it feels void.
That's cool.
So it's small things, but it feels cool. And there is one of the you probably seen the spiker. It's the nail gun, the silenced nail gun. So this one, if you it's a weapon that is pneumatic, so you will hold it and then release to shoot the nail. And the more if you hold it all the way and let the pressure go up, it will be a more powerful projectile and more precise in the distance. So of course we wanted you to feel like you're pushing something. So it's really nice. Same with the haptics. Just giving a bit of feedback when you shoot your guns, when you walk, actually. Basically have a different kind of feedback when you're sprinting, just jogging or sneaking, and have this feedback also be different depending on the surface you're walking on, because there is some snow at night on the island. So when you're walking on snow, it doesn't feel like when you're on rocks.
Awesome.
So different things. It's a really, really, really nice feature. Honestly, I think the controller is absolutely fantastic. I still don't have a PS5 for my own personal pleasure, but for what I've been able to do with the development kit, I really love it. So yeah, we are trying to add all those small things that just add a little bit more immersion, a little bit more feedback. And sometimes it's so we like it quite a lot, and 3D audio is also something we are supporting.
So we've got one more question before we wrap up, Dinga. Oboshu Games asks, previously they have said that there is only one way to solve the puzzle. Does this just refer to figuring out the order of who to kill, in which district, at which time, with the method of assassination left to the player?
So, for instance, if we take the Igor and Alexis event that we mentioned in the in our second gameplay trailer, you will do everything you need to get Igor to go to Alexis' party. Now he's there, and if you set all the rest of the day correctly, and you're doing your what we call the golden loop, which is actually trying to break the loop. And you get to the point where you get to Alexis's party, well, you will have to kill them, both of them, and that's of course, to the players to choose how. Guns blazing, using your powers, using pure stealth, or environmental kills, or a combination of that, because there is 2 targets here. So yeah, it's so the general answer to the question is yes. You set things up, and then you perform the perfect loop as you see fit.
Awesome. Well, Dinga, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to show off Deathloop for our month of coverage. And anything you want to say to the fans before we wrap up?
No, we are quite eager to loop you and see you loop a lot in the on the Isle of Deathloop, so of Black Reef actually. So yeah, looking really forward to that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and leave a comment down below letting us know what you think about Deathloop. And we'll see you later.